An uneasy infusion of Image of the Fendal, the legend of Dickie's skull, and Quatermass in the pit, all conspired together to inspire me to make Walpurgis Nights. But why? Was it because I was tiring of Doctor Who? Or was it something supernatural? I first had the idea for Walpurgis Nights sometime in November of 2012. I'd recently watched all of the Quatermass serials from the 1950s and was fascinated by the stories of science fiction and psychological horror. It was around this time I was beginning to tire of making Doctor Who figure adventures and planned to take a long break from this line of films, planning to work on other projects for many months. What was originally going to be a 4-part science fiction adventure about an alien race lying dormant for 2,000 years under a castle in Scotland soon turned into a supernatural thriller about a skull that is found in the grounds of a church in rural Herefordshire. This particular story I had already written the script for, in the form of a Doctor Who story entitled rather lamely as The Skull. In the Doctor Who version, the skull was actually an alien that had crash-landed on Earth thousands of years ago, and whose mind still existed in the skull, thanks to the power source of its spaceship that was still active. However, I was never satisfied with the story and decided to junk it. Whether the script still exists? Who knows? So, the idea of a skull remained, this time rooted to a more human origin. I wrote the first script for Walpurgis Nights on the 29th of November 2012. Episode 3 was completed on the 22nd of December. Episode 3 had very heavy rewrites, but more about that later. Filming began on the 27th of January this year and concluded on the 10th of March. The filming was completed ahead of schedule and didn't necessitate any reshooting. Generally, I was very happy with the overall effect, though as usual there were some problems with the stop motion. As usual, I provided the voices for each character, my terrible Herefordian accent no doubt bringing laughs to everyone. Here are some of the outtakes. A pentagram? Go straight into the skull. I don't think. We won't get much work round. Oh, God. Well, he told you all I knew about that skull. You'd publish it in that effing newspaper of yours, and then we'd have a load of old village in the old now. Well, it's a preliminary and, In an attempt to keep the mystery of the series and to make it more frightening, I tried to keep the amount of music down to a bare minimum, even toying with the idea of having no music at all. However, without the music, some of the scenes were painfully slow, and I thus made the decision to add some to a few particular scenes. Having not made any proper films for a while, I knew I had to make something special for Halloween. Having already made a Doctor Who Halloween special the year before, which was well received, I decided to do something completely new. Well, almost completely. When I first entertained the idea of doing a continuation of Walpurgis Nights, I laughed at my own suggestion. However, over the next few days, the idea became more interesting in my head when I thought of a whole host of new possibilities that would follow the exploits of the skull. The whole process took longer to produce than I first thought, due to the fact that I had to do the filming in a not-so-advanced/large studio. This story was originally going to follow the story of Thomas Ram, the owner of the local pub, who had somehow survived the massacre of the demons. The idea was that he was going to move to Dungeness, only to be followed by Jake. The story would end with a shot of Ram's dead body. Episode 3 of Walpurgis Nights was originally very different. The first draft of the script, which was only rewritten at the very last minute, was intended as a parody of Most Haunted. The story went like this. Reverend Edwards would call in a paranormal investigation team to spend the night at the Priory. The team, whose names were clever parodies of those on the Most Haunted TV series, would spend the night at the place and experience paranormal occurrences. It was going to be filmed in a handheld style, almost, well, exactly like the Blair Witch Project, and again mirroring Most Haunted. The story would end with the medium, Derek, being possessed, and the others running out of the building, dropping the camera on the way out. It would end with Jake's shadowy figure standing in the corner of the room. I thoroughly enjoyed making Walpurgis Nights, even if it did not get as wide a viewership as I would have liked. Nevertheless, it has not put me off filmmaking at all. In any case, that can't be helped considering 99.99% of my subscribers are here for my Doctor Who adventures. Currently I'm throwing around a few ideas about what will happen in the future. Although I have a whole host of non-Who ideas, from experience of how they don't do as well as Doctor Who projects, I've decided to stick rigidly to Doctor Who. As for what the next story will be about, who knows? All I know is that all my current ideas are terrible, to be honest. It'll probably either be about Drashigs, Sontarans, or Weeping Angels. I don't know when it's going to come out. Soon, hopefully. Anyway, thank you for watching. And good night, Earthmen. It's a chilly October evening, and I'm about to film Walpurgis Nights, Part 4. Well, I don't think many of you were expecting a Walpurgis Nights Part 4. It just goes to show you that the greatest surprises are the ones that we aren't expecting. Yeah, happy Halloween, everybody.